Josiah, thank you for making this all or nothing Christopher Reeve Superman video.
Happy to be here, man. Happy
I
to be here.
I wrote a book's worth of notes, or
Easy.
half a book at least.
A novella, if you will.
The fact is, I'm not going to read those.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's going to take a while.
So I'll say this. I always take notes because...
You want to remember your feelings as you watch.
Not just that, but here's the other thing. If, for instance, you couldn't make it, I'll just end up reading them. That way it's beat for beat.
Yeah.
But anytime you or a guest can be here, I always feel like natural is better and real is real. And so after the open rolls, we will break down Superman through Superman 4, Quest for Peace, and see if Christopher Reeve's quadrilogy, all of it stays or none of it survives. I'll be honest, I knew from the start, before I ever pushed play on this quadrilogy, that there was no way I was going to give even the worst movie less than a 3, because I thought my memory was serving me correctly, that the good far outweighed the bad, so much so.
Yes, that was the consensus I came to too.
Yeah, the good so far outweighed the bad that I was like, because I told somebody earlier today, I was like, I think if it wasn't for the rules of either they all live or they all die, that I could have seen myself giving the Quest for Peace less than a 3, but knowing that it would get rid of things that I thoroughly enjoy, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You could have just changed your own rules.
Of course. But the fun of the game, and it started with the first one, Independence Day.
Yes, I do remember that.
The fun of, wow, something that actually is good might get lost because of something.
Lost the time because the sequels were so bad.
Exactly. And when I brought that up to the person I was talking to, like, I didn't know that Independence Day had a sequel. I was like, it's best that you don't.
I was about to say, just keep that memory alive. I wish I remembered that Independence Day didn't have a sequel.
Yeah,
that would have been
that's the better way. But yeah, 1978's Superman the movie ran 2 hours 23 minutes, and while I could come up with some trimming here or possibly
structuring to make it a slightly shorter movie.
Absolutely, yeah. But that's just how I naturally think. It's not.
I'm about to say it's the movie buff in him. It's the
it's the college degree actually.
It's the college degree.
Like,
dang, I was trying to think of the damn word.
Oh, you're good. But yeah, it's just my go-to thing is like I'm like, would I have made different choices? And I do think I would have made a couple of different choices. Not like a vast array of different choices, because I think that, broadly speaking, the first movie is good to great.
Yeah.
Like, I think I land on good because of the idea that I want to shorten the length between start and arrival of Christopher Reeve, because it took about 48 minutes for to get there.
It was a long... I did... Especially rewatching the first movie, I forgot how long Krypton dying was.
Yes.
It reminded me a lot of Man of Steel.
Yeah, I don't want to be reminded of that.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Oh, well, and here's the other thing. Given that we get to hear Jor-El in the follow-up films, I thought, man, now, granted, they didn't know at the first time out.
I was like, yep, literally they got their Marlon Brando budget in, and they made sure they got their money's worth from him.
Yes.
Despite him being in none of the following films.
And so that's the thing, is like, I don't hold it against the movie, because...
That's just Hollywood.
As much as, like I said, there are tweaks I would make, the idea of Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor and Chris Reeve's
Superman.
Well, that and Clark Kent too.
And Clark Kent, yeah,
My goodness,
absolutely.
the leads are just carrying so much
On their shoulders.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Mm.
Big fan of the first film.
As am I. So I haven't watched these movies in at minimum a decade.
Mm-hmm.
It's been at least a decade since I last saw them, and I do distinctly remember, especially this movie, very fondly. Obviously, the second Superman movie I ever watched, I originally watched. I think I told you at some point. Superman Returns was the first Superman movie I ever saw.
Which is funny,
Which
given
is
that
so ironic.
it's meant to be a follow-up to Superman 1 and 2.
Exactly. And yes, even though this was made in the 70s, and speaking on this in 2025, CGI has come a long way, technology has come a long way. But even back then, Christopher Reeves really made me believe he was flying.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
He was so good at acting this out. He was such a great Superman.
The transformation from Clark to Superman and vice versa in presentation, like tone of voice, stature, the way he stands, like
the way he carries himself, the way he speaks,
Whew.
the way he even you can even see it in his eyes.
Yes.
Like when he while the glasses are on, he's Clark Kent, and then when the glasses come off, he's Superman. And like his eyes like almost light up.
Yes,
exactly. As he becomes Superman.
Which is what really sells the difference between the two characters.
Absolutely. Like and especially now, like, because granted, like in the 70s, this is like the first guy that's ever done this, first live action Superman, first guy to do this portrayal. Even now, I struggle to find an actor who balances that transition better than he did.
The trailer for the 2025 Superman really set off the inflection of the change of voice when Lois asks if she can interview Superman, and Clark transitions how he speaks when going from Clark to Superman, which I thought just in that very short moment
burst.
Short burst. It was like, okay, you're giving me hope, kid.
I'm about to say it's definitely a good first step. I'm like, okay, you're taking a page from Christopher Reeve's book there. I'm like, that's a good idea. But yeah, and again, I'm not knocking the other Supermans that came after him.
Yeah.
I think they all had upsides in their own way. I think Henry Cavill, like, build-wise, is probably the best built Superman that I've ever seen. But like, well, hey, we didn't see much as Clark Kent anyway.
Exactly. But there was somebody who said, I forget who, but it's Brandon. I think it was Brandon.
Probably Brandon.
Brandon.
I'm about to say, it sounds like something Brandon would say.
So,
because I know what you're about to say.
There was a person, I think it was Brandon, said that it wasn't Zack Snyder's desire to understand Superman or Clark Kent, but for us, the audience, to see how the world saw him.
Exactly.
And I was like, oh, okay, good shout there, brother.
I'm about to say, Brandon with $1 million take once again.
Yeah, he's just an asset, I tell you what.
Indeed. But yeah, basically, to get back to the original point, there's a lot of stuff going on in this movie. Could things have been better? Sure. But it's a Superman movie in the 70s. It does exactly what I expected to do and more. I think it exceeds my original expectations first when I originally watched it and on my rewatch.
Yes.
For that reason, I gave the movie a 5.
That's awesome.
I think it's an amazing movie.
Yes.
Especially like Christopher Reeve's performance and I can't remember Lois's name.
Margot Kidder.
Thank you. Margot Kidder's performance is as well.
So in Superman 2, which came out in 1980, I watched the Richard Donner cut. I don't know which one you...
I watched the original.
Okay,
so I did
cool.
not watch the Donner cut.
So the Donner cut ran an hour 55 minutes, which immediately to me is a sign of positivity because I love a nice tight cut.
I'm about to say, within 2 hours is usually good practice for a movie.
Yeah, hour and a half, 2 hours, I'm like, all right, you've got me interested.
Or cooking.
And the other thing is, it's not just the length of the second film, but the gravity of importance that has been put on to the first film. Because we open the second film with the conclusion of the first film.
Yes.
And
20 minutes.
And what it does is it shows the consequences of the choices Superman made.
Absolutely.
And while I was never a fan of the turning back time idea...
Oh, yeah, I forgot how much you hated that.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that I feel like leans into people's complaint of Superman being so overly powered. And I'm just like, I could do without it.
Yeah, it is a valid argument.
Yeah.
Especially even in these movies, he finds powers. I'm like, how did you do that? Like in this movie, he has shadow clones. He's able to throw the S on his chest. He uses his laser eyes for the first time in this movie.
Yeah, the first film he didn't use laser eyes or freeze breath.
Yeah. Yes, that was the other one I was thinking of.
But my point is, so I like the fact that the first film had weight coming into this. That's actually something I always compliment Zack Snyder on, is
making his all of his movies important or adding to the importance.
Yes, exactly. Or learning from what you did to make the next thing
better,
consequential.
Yeah.
Butter is also a great way to put it.
But
with that, the highlight of Clark Kent and Lois Lane, because Superman is willing to forego his powers to put her above all else.
Yep, absolutely.
Was top-notch stuff. Big fan.
Great storytelling.
And it made the arrival of the other Kryptonians mean something. Give it weight, because of Superman giving up his powers, it gave Zod and crew the ability to create chaos.
Absolutely.
Demand that the president kneel before Zod. All kinds of other...
And also just phenomenal performances from Zod and crew.
Oh my goodness, yes. I'm a big fan of Terrence Stamp, the man who played Zod.
Absolutely.
I thought that he, both in the little bit of time that he was in the first film and all of the time here over the second one, I was like, this dude, he just feels like he understood the assignment.
Again, he very, very much like Christopher Reeves, harries himself like Zod.
Yes.
I actually believe he's Zod. It was such a good performance.
Yes.
Such a good performance.
So, I gave this movie a spectacular 6 out of 5 stars.
Wow.
Like,
you really like this movie.
It took everything that was, turned it up, and raised it up so much so that I was like, oh my goodness, yeah, this thing's freaking spectacular. The idea that Marlon Brando, or Jor-El, had anticipated his son's needs and desires and came up with a plan to satisfy those needs and desires, I thought was very smart. And then also, because of his intelligence, because of his forethought, was like, so not only do I see what you think that you want, but I know a way to get you out of the place where you think you want to be and you really shouldn't be.
Yes.
Which I thought was quite amusing and just a statement on maturity and preparedness. Because that's often, the older I get, the more I'm like, oh, none of us have it figured out. And then to see that Jor-El did have contingency plans, I was like
just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Top quality stuff.
But yeah, we can't say nothing about these movies that aren't complimentary. Like I said, I didn't like all the extra powers he had at the end of the movie, but that didn't hamper my enjoyment of it either.
Yeah,
because I gave this movie a 5 as well. So
yeah, that's
what's up. I don't remember
if
I said my score or not.
Yeah, you hadn't yet, but no, I'm with you.
Yeah. So
I can't even put my finger on the particular why or what the it was, but I was just like, oh, this is spectacular.
Yeah,
so
something about it it felt good.
And
felt
that's
good watching.
That's really what's important.
Yeah.
Is sometimes not the knowing what, but just knowing there is something that does it for you. Absolutely. Because I can tell you right now, thank you for being here at Mr. Super Oz. This video is going out, and this channel only exists because I, Oz, founded Gamble Comics, which first release was Everlasting Survivors, a 68-page graphic novel called All Day Long. Available now. Follow the link in the description that will take you to gamblecomics.com. While there, you can get hats, shirts, posters, much, much more. But most importantly, the story itself. Superman 3 from 1983, it ran 2 hours. And I can tell you off the top of my head what it is that made it good.
I'm here.
Richard Pryor. The man was fun galore. He reminded me early on of Robin Williams from Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah, but I knew exactly where you're going. Okay.
Trying to get his unemployment to stick around. He's like, I'm doing my best. I'm trying. But then you also see that he's also a little bit of a shyster.
Yeah, just a smidge.
Which is,
but there's a reason he's in the situation.
Yeah, but no, Gus was just so much fun, and I'm not saying spoiler. I don't believe in spoilers, and it's also.
I'm about to say this is literally 40 years old. If you haven't seen the movie,
why are you watching?
Come on.
So, he always gave me that little bit of hesitation in his performance, right? Where it's like, I'm a villain, but I'm not a villain.
I'm about to say I'm an anti-villain.
Yeah.
Before that was even a term.
Yeah, and I feel the same way about his boss's side piece.
Oh yeah.
I'm like. Oh, I'm a villain, but I'm not really a villain.
Yeah.
Because she was make-believing to be dumb, and then anytime her sugar daddy's out the room, she's got the brains.
Such a big problem with that, because like they didn't. I thought that was going to tie into the story when I first watched it.
Of course. I
thought it was going to tie into the story, and it's going to be a big reveal. It's going to be so important. And I was like, no, just an aspect of her character. I'm like, oh, we could have did more with that.
Yeah, it just popped me, the idea that
like she's well-read, well-spoken, very intelligent. Like, literally pretty much how I booked Stacy Keibler.
Yes,
and
exactly.
AEW. Watch that now on the channel.
But no, I'm with you. I can see your perspective that it could have been more.
Yeah.
But even though it didn't have a major payoff, just a little
sprinkling
extra,
was nice though. I did appreciate
it popped me.
Didn't like Richard Pryor's character.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, wasn't a big fan of just the character arc in general.
Oh.
I like Richard Pryor. He was funny.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here like, oh, Richard Pryor wasn't funny. That's not at all.
Gotcha.
I just think it kind of felt, his scenes to me felt shoehorned in. Like,
oh, they 100% were.
They
were 100% were.
Just done for plot. And I don't know why, because typically that doesn't bother me.
Gotcha.
But in this movie, for some reason, I was just like, I hate that so much.
That's funny. So one of my, I don't even know if it's a negative per se, but one of my constant thoughts was his boss, the Mr. Moneybags character, right?
Mr. Big Pockets.
And I kept thinking to myself, is this guy meant to be like a Lex Luthor stand-in? Because
essentially, because Luthor was not.
Now, granted, the fact is he wasn't a one-for-one copy. Yeah. Like he didn't want land. But he just wanted power. But
he did fill the exact same role though.
Yes.
Had the exact same female understudy.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand. Maybe you couldn't get Gene Hackman. Yeah. Possibly he was out, catching a fugitive, or
he was probably
or whatever. But, whatever the case may be, he was doing some other role, right?
Right, doing something else.
And that's fine, no big deal.
Guys on conflicts.
He had the.
We also
French Connection or whatever.
Name for me again, Lois.
Oh, Margot Kidder.
Margot Kidder wasn't in the movie as well.
Yeah, so she was barely there. She was like a little bit.
She was there for the first 5 minutes and then went to, was it Aruba?
Bahamas. Pretty Mama, whatever.
I distinctly remember the bikini top. That was all I had.
So, do you know why that happened?
Yes, I do.
Why she got put aside for Lana Lang?
Tell the audience.
So, basically, she, much like many people within the production, didn't like that Richard Donner was cast aside. And so, that's why she was diminished. Mm-hmm. But, I'll say this. I thoroughly enjoyed Annette O'Toole, Lana Lang.
And she was great in she's his mom in Smallville.
Correct. Well. Yes. So it just shows her range as an actress.
Absolutely.
But so I wasn't like heartbroken over the lack of Lois, because after he gave up his powers and then had to get them back, it's like he was already at a conflict. So it's like,
and then he wiped Lois's memory with a kiss, which is another random power he just has.
That's actually a Silver Age trope that I wasn't a fan of regardless.
Yeah.
But like there are so many times that he gains or loses powers depending on writer.
Yeah.
Like,
trying to think of the name. It's gonna come to me.
Only like 8 people are gonna get this joke, but that's okay. Maybe none of them are watching. But I keep thinking Rick Byrne, but that was a wrestling promoter that I crossed paths with. No, I'm trying to think of a writer who, boy, distilled down Superman's powers to like these are the essentials. These are the ones that we need.
Like who was the first guy to do that?
Not the first guy, but he's like he knocked it out of the park. He's like, I got this figured out.
Like here's what he can do, and we're running with that.
John Byrne. That's why I said Rick Byrne.
There it is. Okay, that makes sense.
So John Byrne is a man that tightened and made everything make sense for Superman. He was like, oh, let's cast all this nonsense aside. Let's just get him down to the necessities.
Bare necessity.
And so while I understand your point of saying, oh, the kiss and the this and that aren't helpful, because I agree.
Yeah.
I still thought that the movie itself was a good 4 out of 5 stars because it's hard to even pinpoint it, but it's the idea that I just have this fondness for the people making it happen, I guess.
So, for me, when I was originally watching this movie, I still enjoyed myself. Again, I like Richard Pryor, but
just not in this specific.
Not in this role.
Yes.
I liked him more in The Wiz. But,
Okay.
You know, all the black people get that joke, my people. But
well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You say black people, but do you recommend The Wiz, generally speaking?
Oh yeah, overall, I like it better than The Wizard of Oz. Yes.
Okay, because at some point, I don't know specifically when, but at some point I am going to have a whole Wizard of Oz, let's say, month maybe, or...
Of all the many adaptions?
So, like, The Wizard of Oz, right? The 1938
The OGs.
gimmick. Oz the Great and Powerful.
Okay.
The James Franco
Yep,
vehicle.
I remember.
Wicked, the new Wicked,
Brandon
that's
one.
coming soon.
Yep.
And so I was like, I mean, that was 4 in easy peasy. I was just asking if you recommended it.
Oh yeah, no. Highly recommend the movie.
Sweet.
Definitely should watch it. I love the soundtrack.
Like I said, I plan on doing a whole Oz, for obvious reasons, gimmick at some point.
Well, I'll definitely show up for The Wiz. Sweet. If nothing else. But getting back to my original point.
Yes.
I was originally going to give this movie a 3.
Mm-hmm.
But what really brought it up to a 4 to me, so I'm giving it a 4, obviously.
Cool.
Was Christopher Reeve's performance as evil Superman.
Oh my goodness, yes. That whole sequence, top quality stuff. My goodness.
Really? So, because I haven't watched many Christopher Reeves films, mostly because I was born in '98.
Yeah, that makes a difference.
So I would have had to actually go out of my way to hunt them down.
Yeah, because I think he was paralyzed in '94.
Yep.
So it's like.
Yeah. So by that point, he wasn't acting; he was more directing.
Exactly.
By the time I was born.
Yeah.
If that.
Yeah.
Actually, he was probably still recovering at that point.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think he didn't really start taking on stuff until like 99, 2000.
Yeah.
Because, that's a hard life to live.
That's a life-changing injury.
Yes.
But that was the first time I really saw his range as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I feel like if they were to have actually did a little bit more with the concept, I probably would have given it another 5.
Sure.
I would have really liked to see evil Superman get stretched out because it was such a, especially after watching the first 2 movies, because I watched all these back to back, such a stark contrast seeing him go from Boy Scout to this drinking in the bar, smoking a cigarette, pushing a kid aside. I'm like, this is, and he's acting it so well. He's such a, it's making me upset. I'm like, no, this isn't who you are. I'm like, I'm a 26-year-old man. Why am I talking like this?
I love when Ricky was taking it personally. And I was all like, oh, it's okay. He's just having a bad day.
Sometimes just having a bad day, baby. It's all right.
Oh my goodness.
Man. But yeah.
So
still a solid film, even though it wasn't the best.
No, I'm with you, and it's the first time we've been eye to eye on the score.
On the numbers, yeah.
When it comes to Superman 4, Quest for Peace, The Quest for Peace.
I feel like we're going to be eye to eye on this one too.
Probably so. But what I was going to say is it has the same shortcoming, in my opinion, as, along with an additional one, but it has the same original shortcoming as Superman 3, which is Gus and Nuclear Man aren't real.
Yeah.
They're made for movies.
Made for the movie.
Not pulled from the comics. That's why when we did my version, my reimagining of this universe, I recast both Mark Pillow and Richard Pryor. Because I'm like, I'm not against you guys. I'm just against the idea of like we have all this content to work with, and you make up stuff.
Well, hell, I'm not even against like original characters, but just the way these were executed.
Oh my goodness!
Like,
So
Lord.
Nuclear Man, and Superman 2 for that matter.
Yeah.
But anytime there was flights happening in this film, I was like,
so hard to watch.
guys, I can see that blue screen.
I'm about to say this. So this film and the last film, or like the first films, I'm like, oh, this is noticeable CGI. Like, which is again hilarious because the first film was made in the damn 70s.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I don't know what they did different.
I think it's just have budget. I think it's just have a budget. I think in both cases, 3 and 4, I think the budget got cut so dramatically that to pull off things, you could just see it.
Yeah.
Whereas the original 2 films, it was like, oh, we got the money.
Yeah, we got all the money in the world to make this happen. It's just so amazing to watch. Like I can actually like tell, like, oh yeah, they're on the green screen or blue screen in this case. Like I can actually see the wires almost.
Yeah. So Gene Hackman coming back was
great choice.
Was definitely needed, and the addition of John Cryer, my goodness.
So I didn't even remember John Cryer was in this movie until I saw him. I'm like, is that Alan from 2.5 Men? What the hell?
Well, and here's the funniest part to me. In Supergirl from CW,
yes,
he gets cast as
Lex Luthor. The irony.
And exactly. And
what's really funny, he's an excellent Lex Luthor if you've never seen him in that series.
What I was going to say is it goes back to the Annette O'Toole concept where when you prove yourself in one way, then it can help you in a future iteration. But yeah, I thought it was totally fine.
Yeah.
If I was being
that is the very definition.
If I was being completely honest, I'd say it might be a little passable, but I'm not going to be completely honest. I'm just going to give it the 3 out of 5. Call it fine. And let the stuff that's really good speak for the franchise. Really
that is definitely the key. Christopher Reeve is still great.
Absolutely.
I think the only consistent thing in all 4 films is Christopher Reeve is a phenomenal actor.
Yeah.
And it does suck that he kind of was typecasted as Superman for his entire career.
Same thing happened to George Reeves, though.
Yeah, same thing happened to George Reeves. Like, to this day, I feel like there's only like a couple people that kind of like escape that. Like, who plays Han Solo? His name's not coming to me. Harrison Ford. That's the name I'm thinking. Yes. Good Lord.
Correct.
Oh, man. Harrison Ford escaped it just because he got so many roles that just happened to end up being iconic.
Absolutely.
And I think it's because the franchises he were in ended up being iconic.
Yes.
So he was able to escape the typecast, but otherwise he would have just been Han Solo probably his entire career. I think that was the one that came first. Yeah, Christopher Reeve just unfortunately was typecasted as Superman, and no one could see him as anything that's not Superman.
Right.
But he has phenomenal range as an actor. Incredible performances on each of these movies, script, especially with the diminishing scripts
and budget, my goodness.
And budget, good Lord.
So, I know that that's not what we're here for, but I'm gonna say, I think David Cornsweet is fortunate.
That's a good word.
At least for me, that I've already seen him in a couple, maybe more than 2, but at least a couple of things already. Twisters and
Twister,
The Greatest Hits. So, while Greatest Hits wasn't
I've never seen it
as great as it thought it would be, or as I thought it would be, it was an execution problem, not a concept problem.
Okay.
It was passable or fine. It was
It did the job.
But it wasn't his fault. It's a time travel movie.
Oh, okay.
Where when you hear a certain song, it takes you back in time.
Oh, that's a neat idea.
It's a super good idea, but it's executed poorly, real poorly.
That sucks.
Yeah, because like I said, when I watched the trailer, I was like, oh, this is top quality.
I'm about to say that's actually a clever concept.
It is really good. It's done real poorly.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that's the problem. My point is, whether it be that film or Twisters, I already have an idea of his ability. Whereas, when it came to Reeves, Christopher, the idea was to pull a guy from the unknown.
Yeah, because wasn't he doing Broadway plays before Superman?
Yeah. Him and Robin Williams were from Juilliard.
Yep, that's right. I forgot about that.
And so, now, granted, I'm sure that it's going to be somebody's first time seeing David Cornsweet when they watch Superman from James Gunn this year.
It'll be my first time, I think. I don't think I've seen him in anything.
My point is, I hope for David Cornsweet that he is able to continue to flourish in his
acting career.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for this, and I'm so glad that all of Christopher Reeve's Superman movies get to survive.